What should a CEO be doing is one of the most common questions that I get from the first time CEOs I work with. That's why if you're not sure what you should be focusing on, then in this video, I'm going to share with you the three questions that you need to answer to know where you should be spending your time. I'll also take you through the one thing that you should be doing at least every 90 days to ensure that you and your team are aligned and on target. If you're new here, my name's Byron Morrison. I'm the author of The Effective CEO 2.0, and I help first time CEOs become the leader their business needs to take it to the next level of success. Now, the reason I get asked the question, what should I be doing as a CEO so much, is when you're a founder or manager, you have to wear all the hats. It's on you to be involved in every department, to drive forward every decision, and to do a lot of the doing that it takes to grow a business. Once you scale, though, and you've built a team, your focus has to become far more honed in. And if you don't effectively make that transition, you're going to become stuck in the weeds, overwhelmed by competing priorities, and the one who bottlenecks growth. This is why so many first time CEOs struggle with knowing what to do, as they haven't adapted to the changes that come with their role or business growth. As for what you should be doing as CEO, the answer is it depends. Yes, you need to set the vision, drive the strategy, and bring together the right team to make sure everything is functioning. But beyond that, every CEO is different with varying skills, strengths, and weaknesses. That's why, if you want to ensure you're best utilizing yourself and your company, you need to clearly define your role and responsibilities. To figure that out, there's three questions that you need to answer. The first is, what is your zone of genius? Think about what has been your unfair advantage or unique set of skills that has massively contributed to your growth. It may be creating great products, closing deals, developing teams, or various other skills. So think about, what are your superpowers that make you great at what you do? The second question is, where does your time have the greatest impact? Think about what area of the business, if you put more time into it, would have the biggest impact on your revenue and growth. Some of this may overlap with your zone of genius, but that won't always be the case. So make sure you look holistically at your company and where you're involved. This question can also change over time depending on the stage, season, or current priorities in the business. For instance, let's say you're about to raise your next investment round. Because of that, during this period, your time may have the greatest impact by building relationships with investors or doing pitches. So really think about, with everything going on right now, where's your time best spent? And finally, question three is, what can only be done by you? There's going to be tasks in the business that fall outside of your superpowers, yet given the leadership position you're in, you still need to do them. These could be anything from strategic decisions to running board meetings or other obligations that you have to do. To figure this out, it helps to look at your reoccurring tasks or to reflect on the past few weeks. That way you can create a list of everything that was mission critical and that couldn't be done by anyone else. Answering the three questions of, what is your zone of genius, where does your time have the greatest impact, and what can only be done by you, is going to help you clearly define your role and responsibilities. And you can then start looking at everything you take on through the lens of, is this something you should be doing, or should this be done by someone else? I talk about this a lot in my other videos and in my book, The Effective CEO 2.0, but one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is, at the beginning of every day and week, audit what you're taking on. Go through your meetings, your to-do list, and other commitments to really determine, is this a good use of your time? Doing so can help you free up hours every single week, which is then time you can spend on the things that truly matter. With that being said, you won't always be able to get out of everything straight away, but you can use these insights for future hires where you build your team or bring in people to take over the tasks that aren't a good use of your time or that you aren't particularly strong in. You can also look at your current team and who you could coach or teach to take over these responsibilities. So that's part one of figuring out what you should be doing as CEO, by clearly defining your role and responsibilities. Part number two is getting clear on your targets and objectives. I speak to so many CEOs who, beyond having a rough idea of what they're trying to achieve, they don't have a clear plan for where they're going or how they're going to get there. This is why, with new clients, often one of the first things I get them to do is to take a few hours to sit down and map out their next 90 days. To do this yourself, think about your goals, visions, and targets. What's working? What isn't? What challenges do you need to overcome? Think about what campaigns do you want to implement? What hires do you need to make? What would need to happen in the next 90 days for it to be a success? This is going to give you a top level idea of what you're trying to achieve. And not only will that help you determine what you should be prioritizing with your time, you can then communicate this to your team to help them set their own targets and ensure that everyone is aligned and working towards a common goal. Generally, when doing this, I'm a big advocate of changing your environment, as sometimes you need to shift your energy to feel at ease so that you can think, be creative, and be inspired. I've seen clients have great success with anything from a rented meeting room to a coffee shop. That doesn't mean you can't do it from your usual office. Just be aware that sometimes it's hard to mentally shift into another zone when you're in an environment that's usually focused on firefighting and dealing with never ending demands. I tend to find that doing this at least once every 90 days is enough for most people. I have, however, had clients who realize that this is one of their most important tasks as it directly steers the focus for the entire company. Because of that, they take half a day to recalibrate once a month where they revisit their targets and plan their strategy. Ultimately, it's going to depend on you and your business, so test it and see what works for you. As for ensuring that you're actually getting these tasks done, I have a video on how to structure your week like a 9-figure CEO, which I'll link at the end. But it's going to show you how to take the insights from this video and then schedule your time around the tasks that are going to drive business growth. For now, though, if you want to be a more effective leader or CEO, then take some time to clearly define your role and responsibilities by figuring out what is your zone of genius? Where does your time have the greatest impact? And what can only be done by you? Then commit to spending the bulk of your time operating within those areas by auditing what you're doing and letting go of everything that isn't a good use of your time. If you want to dive into this further, then in the description below, you can grab a copy of my book, The Effective CEO 2.0, or find out more about my coaching program for first-time CEOs who want to become the leader their business needs. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss future videos on how to become a more effective CEO. I've been Byron Morrison. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.